Thank you all for joining us today. Today, I'm joined by Jennifer Prinz, the CEO of Donor Alliance, which serves Colorado and Wyoming. Jennifer, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thanks, Steve. Happy to be here with you.
Appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule. Before we begin, I know you've been around for quite a while. Many of your colleagues know you, but there's new people into the AOPO community. Can you give us a little bit about your background of how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. So I actually started working with DCI Donor Services back in 1994 as an organ recovery coordinator, and had the opportunity to work with them for many, many years, and moved out to Colorado in 2008. I served as the chief operating officer for many years, and then moved into the CEO role in the middle of 2020, which is a significant time for me, but a significant time for our country, obviously, in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, a difficult time to take over right in the middle of the pandemic, but you guys have been hit your stride. You're doing great things there. Want to talk to you sort of about your passion for organ donation and transplantation, and where does that come from? What drives you into this space?
So I'm a nurse by background, and I have a master's in public health, health policy, and strategic planning. But when I was actually in nursing school in Dayton, Ohio in the early 90s, I had a chance to do my very first organ donor with a name that some people will remember, and Bert Mattice was an organ recovery coordinator. And I got a chance as a tech to do an organ donor case. And that is when I just knew I wanted to do this work. So I graduated from nursing school and went to work in the intensive care unit for a few years in Tennessee, and then had the opportunity to go to work for DCI. And I certainly feel like this is my life's work. And I felt that way from the very first day when I had a chance to work with the donor family and manage an organ donor case and see those transplants happen. Many people know, but not everyone that we work with, that in 2016, my family also became both a transplant recipient family as well as a donor family. And we're now an organ donor family ×2. So I've now been touched by both sides of what we do, which just quite frankly solidifies what I've known all along, is that this is an honor, a privilege, and I believe it's my life's work to get to work in the organ procurement organization and to be out in Colorado with this amazing team.
That's a great backstory and a great connection to the mission and to the purpose of the organization. Thank you for sharing that. A little bit about you. Obviously, you said you took over middle of the pandemic. How would you describe your leadership style, and sort of how did you put that into effect in a pandemic and sort of with your team?
You know, my leadership style naturally is to be a servant leader and a coach, and to help people hopefully achieve more than they ever believed possible while we motivate the team. And since 2020, when I took over as CEO, we've built a whole new executive team at Donor Alliance. They are doing great things as we all work with our board of directors and invest in our workforce. We've switched gears a little bit through the pandemic and had to invest in staff and look at a growth strategy and continue to make sure that we can be there for all the donor families and offer the option of donation and make transplant happen for those people who need us the most. So working with the team, working with the Donor Alliance full staff and our community has been a great thing in my first 2 years as CEO.
No, and that's great. And you talked about a new leadership team and sort of reinvesting in your team. Are there any other new practices, operational changes you've implemented, and you and the team, since you guys have taken on the last 2 years?
Sure. We've significantly invested in the workforce and growing the workforce numbers and training dollars and anything that we can do to help the staff be successful. We've invested in technologies and, of course, the capacity and the capability to be able to operationalize different perfusion technologies and other technologies that will help us evaluate our organ donor cases more efficiently. And then we've invested in medical services. So put a chief medical officer on our executive team. We're building our physician capability and capacity to help us go to the next level in terms of donation and transplantation on both for the organ activities that we do, but also in our tissue work system.
Those are great. So it sounds like you've spent the last 2 years really establishing the foundation for the future. And so what are your goals now moving in? You've got the foundation in place, you've got your team in place. What are the goals of the organization, you and the organization moving forward?
We have a Vision 2025, and that's 1,000 transplants, and that cascades differently throughout the organization. Each component of our organization, our organ work system, our tissue work system, all of our support systems all have a piece of that Vision 2025, but we're moving towards 1,000 transplants.
That's an amazing goal. And that's great that you guys have sort of stuck a flag in and said, this is where we're going. So good, kudos to you guys for that. Shifting gears a little, we've been talking about sort of where you are as a leader. What makes you laugh? What do you do to sort of relax and get, you're in a very stressful position. We know that. You're a leader leading a large team. So what makes you laugh and how do you relax?
Well, at work, our executive team has a great sense of humor. So we have a lot of fun while we do this important work. But everything brings a smile to my face as soon as I go home. My family and the times that we have enjoying life. Again, I said we've been a donor family and a recipient family. So we have a motto that says, live while you live and live joyfully. And that's how I am at work and at home and what I hope to leave behind in this world. So love to laugh with the people that I know and love the most.
That's great. And it's a great way to look at life and to look at your role at work, but also the time you spend with family. Yeah. Anything you want, any last thing we haven't covered that you want folks, your colleagues to know about you? Any last words?
Well, from my CEO perspective for Donor Alliance, I am overjoyed with the people that I've had a chance to work with in this community for years. I look forward to the folks that I haven't met before and developing those relationships and continuing to help maximize donation and transplantation across the country. The other thing is from a donor family perspective and from a recipient family perspective, thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing to lead your teams well, to make sure that the people who need us the most, that we're there for them in the middle of the tragedy on the donor family side, all the way to the joy and the celebration on the recipient side. Thanks for the work that you do.
That's a great message for your colleagues. So Jennifer, thank you again for joining us. I appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule to chat with us.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks for the work that you and the AOPO team do.